civilization. A hero from another time. On the starship Andromeda, hope lives again.
By the way, Otto, how are you doing?
I knew you dorks would be in black, so I had to pick a yellow shirt today. Why are you guys always so
gray.
drab?
It's grey.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's so drab.
This is actually
It's a
very
beast shirt.
dark
It should at
navy
least
blue.
be like blue.
Oh, it does have blue on it. Look, it's got beast on it. How could it be more blue?
This
It
is
should
midnight
be
blue.
free blue, so you look like Cookie Monster when you wear it.
I mean, I can switch if you want. I've got other shirts back there.
It's all good. All right, I saw Idol start to put on his "we're recording" face, so I'll shut up now.
No, this is going in now. Okay, welcome to the Holodeck, our introduction to things that are not quite Trek. And we're taking a spin to another science fiction series. We're moving away from the Twilight Zone and going on to something that actually kind of is very related to Trek. And we're going to be exploring at least the first 5 episodes of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. Now, guys, have you ever seen... I nearly called it Star Trek Andromeda. Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda before?
Not a
You've
single
never seen
episode.
it. Okay.
I know of the vague, like kind of premise. It's like another galaxy because the Andromeda Galaxy, and I know that Kevin Sorbo in it, which is going to be unfortunate.
We have, I've a point to say about that later, but not a big one. But okay.
One of the 4 live-action actors who have played Beast is in it.
Yes.
So
Kelsey Grammer's in Andromeda. Awesome.
You wish.
Could you imagine?
No, it's the one who was in X-Men 2. But
see, I don't remember that.
yeah, I don't know anything about this. Yeah,
Wow.
he's literally a cameo in X-Men 2. He's up on a TV during a TV debate and sitting on the little bumper thing with Dr. Hagen McCoy. It's like he's
I
not
think I do
blue
remember
at
that.
the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about you, Otto?
Yeah, that's all I know of Andromeda.
Yeah, okay. How about you, Otto? Have you watched much?
Yeah, I've seen I saw a couple seasons, probably when it was airing, because I was a big sci-fi buff from the beginning. But I almost zero recollection of it. Besides, what I say, it's got Sorbo, the guy that looks like Seth Green, the hot AI, and then Worf, basically. So it's almost like a straight Star Trek rip in some ways, but I fell off the wagon. I don't remember why. So I am interested to go back to see how it holds up, see if it's any good or as good as I remember.
That a Gene Roddenberry product may well be slightly underwritten, derivative of a previous work, and also be obsessed with hot women. Are you intimating that?
Oh wait, there's more. There is more on this. We're gonna have a little bit of. I've got a bit of a spiel. Don't worry, it's not actually that damning of Gene Roddenberry. It's actually.
Also, I'm gonna need you to get me another list of Twilight Zone episodes. Stat.
Dude, how could we go from that down to Andromeda is what I want to know.
It's a logical progression. Anyway, so yeah, I just myself, I remember watching fairly. I think I binged like about the first like 2 or 3 series. I remember we had Sky and we're watching. It was always in the off season of Trek, wasn't it? So it was Voyager was airing, and then when Voyager wasn't, Andromeda started, and then same with Enterprise. And I think it ran for about 5. It ran for 5 series, so it was always in the off-peak era. But it was one of those shows like Babylon 5 where everyone expected to get cancelled at season 4. But then it got renewed. No one was prepared. No one had any money. So season 5 was like a massive drop in production. I think that's where I eventually dropped off.
Why is that so common? Because that happens with a lot, especially in the 90s. I'm not sure what the cycle is. Is it like 4-year contracts as the standard at the time, or?
Yeah. To be fair, if a series got 5 seasons in this day and age, it would be like the most critically acclaimed show of all time. So.
Oh, like Discovery.
I'm always. Hey, dude, I got on board in season 5.
Yeah. It's true, you did actually. Yeah,
you're actually more of a fan than the rest of us.
Actually, I was. Yeah,
I like it, yeah.
I'm always happy to find like a diamond in the rough from like the 90s or early aughts, where it's like, all right, there's enough episodes here to dig in, which is nice. If you try troll at Netflix now, you find a show you like, it's got like 9 episodes. You're like, damn it.
Yeah.
So,
and I think
I guess it's halfway through its run. Yeah.
I think for all its flaws, like Andromeda is, it's a fairly campy, more light-hearted and action-orientated show. But I do believe
remember some camp.
Yeah, there are a few episodes which are very kind of Star Trek in style and very sort of like a few thinkers in there. We haven't picked those. I've just picked the first 5, so I want to keep the storyline going, But
now, to be fair, let's remember TNG's first 5 episodes
exactly.
and see if it holds up favorably to that.
Yeah. Okay, this is freaking like this is Orson Welles material compared to that.
Yeah,
this is peak cinema, as they say it.
I don't know. Have we checked the writer for Code of Honor? Because it was like, what was it? The writer of Code of Honor. She also wrote the exact same episode for Stargate. Are we sure she didn't do it for Andromeda?
She's in every show.
So no, I don't lie. I have a little summary of how the series came to be. There is actually a Code of Honor mention in there.
Oh no.
Okay.
Why does it always come back to you will have no vaccine and no Lieutenant Jar?
You shall have no competent series and no Lieutenant Jar. Okay. So before I start, a very quick mentioning about Kevin Sorbo, because it's going to come up in the YouTube comments, I'm sure. Yes, he's a questionable individual.
It's a nice way of putting it.
A very nice way of putting it. I'm being diplomatic here. He is off the rails. The fact that Lucy Lawless, who played Xena, for those that don't know, Kevin Sorbo also played Hercules. Lucy Lawless on Twitter was calling him out directly to his post, saying that he was not a very nice man. So you can dig through Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it and find those. Yeah, he's not nice, but we're not here for Sorbo.
X will never be over.
Yeah, we're not here for Sorbo. We're here for the show. So a little bit of art and artist.
He's the main character.
Yeah, he is the main character. I know, but he is the chat. This is. I would say, Galaxy Quest is probably more of a rip off Andromeda. I know it came before, but it's more a rip of what Andromeda became than anything else. But yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Sorbo is a not nice person, and there it is. There's your YouTube comment. So,
and this is kind of like Sorbo's T.J. Hooker then, because it came.
Yes.
Everyone knows him for Hercules, and everyone knows Shatner for Trek, and so this is kind of like his second big series, I believe.
Definitely. So I've got a bit of a spiel about the creation, which I'm going to do now. But first off, thank you to Christopher L. Bennett and the Unmade Speculative Fiction website for some of the series and the information I'm going to quote below. I'll put the links to their blogs in the comments as well.
That's Christopher L. Bennett, who's written a ton of
Correct,
Star Trek novels.
Yeah, his blog is like meticulous in detail. He went through an Andromeda watch through at some point as well, so he was he's a very good author as well.
He did a load of stuff for Tor.com where he did like TNG and Voyager and DS. I need a load of review series.
Yeah, he's a
claimed
writer. Yeah, he's a good writer, very very analytical. But yeah, he's done some stuff. So let's take us back to. And this is going very far back, because as people know, Andromeda is a bit of the brainchild of Gene Roddenberry, hence Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, come from notes of productions of various TV things he wanted to do. Another of which came from his concepts was Earth Final Conflict, which aired around the same time, which is something else I'd like us to watch. Was another, and that actually starred quite a lot of major...
to watch or put this on?
Why not both? I remember enjoying Earth Final Conflict. That was a bit more of a serious take on sort of Alien Nation kind of thing. If you ever watched that with Graham, what was his name? Grant Graham? I forget now. Played Soval. Gary Graham. Gary
Graham.
Yeah, he was the main character on that. Anyway,
you know, we still have like 900 Star Treks to watch too. So.
It's good to move away and remind us why Star Trek's good. Okay, so let's go back to just after. Well, actually, let's talk about Gene Roddenberry's Starship. During the development phase of Star Trek, Matt Jeffries, came up with a number of designs for Enterprise. The second attempt at the design was called the Ring Ship. We've all seen it, the XCV, was it 330, something like that. After the cancellation of Star Trek, but before Phase 2, the Ring Ship became attached to a Roddenberry concept called Starship, which featured a diverse crew of humans and aliens and a sentient starship. So we're starting to see seeds of Andromeda coming here. So I'll give you the spiel for Starship. It was a futuristic action hour in which peaceful Earth is run by an organization of artists, scientists, and teachers working to bring harmony throughout the universe. Gene Roddenberry's Starship chronicles the exploration space vessel Starship that serves as home to a team of galactic troubleshooters led by Captain Dylan Hunt. After leaving Earth to study the far reaches of the universe, where a long and brutal territorial war between aliens takes place, Hunt and his crew discover worlds that are vastly different from a humanistic civilized society left behind. So we already see Captain Dylan Hunt, who is the protagonist of Andromeda as well, is sort of the seeds of that character already in there.
He should have just stuck with Robert April, honestly.
So yeah, Major Roddenberry was interested in producing Starship in the 2000s. The Stanley Media actually picked up the series rights to produce something, but sadly nothing went ahead because I believe Andromeda was already in production at this point, also started by Major Roddenberry. So Starship was kind of the first seed of this idea of Dylan Hunt and a starship traveling through space, very similar to Star Trek in theme and in style. Let me take you forward to now 1973. to a show that Roddenberry tried to produce called Genesis.
Forward.
Yes, a bit far forward, yeah. Genesis 2. Don't know what happened to Genesis 1. This was called
Show forbidden. Yeah.
You knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You knew it.
Show me Genesis. All right, Genesis 2 was Roddenberry's attempt to do another series built around the Thousand Worlds premise of Star Trek. A team of heroes travelling to a different exotic society or environmental disaster each week. In this case, it was a post-apocalyptic future where the survivors of a global nuclear war had fragmented into multiple diverse, bizarre societies. But with typical Roddenberry optimism, the fall of civilization had cleansed the planet and let it eventually become a pristine paradise again. The hero was Captain Dylan Hunt, played by Alex Cord, a 20th century scientist trapped in suspended animation experiment in 1979 and revived in 2133 by a society called PAX, an anomaly dedicated to rebuilding and restoring the best of civilization. While he slept, the great conflict occurs, pushing mankind back to a primitive state and producing races of mutants. So this is another concept that's in Andromeda, because Andromeda starts with Dylan Hunt being trapped in a black hole and propelled into the future where civilization has fallen. The Great Federation has fallen. So this idea that was produced in 2000 goes all the way back to Genesis 2. You can find Genesis 2 on YouTube, the pilot, which they produced, but was never commissioned for a full series. So, knowing that, let's go to 1974. To a series called Planet Earth. No, not the David Attenborough one. Sadly not. This was...
I wouldn't mind watching that.
Yeah, after the pilot for Genesis 2 had been produced, Roddenberry pitched it to ABC, who didn't like it, and wanted him to retool it for a second attempt. So, because Roddenberry has a knack for getting second pilots made. I don't know how much of his personality swings on the plate, but he does get another chance to produce another one of these concepts, and this is called Planet Earth. It's produced in 1974, starring John Saxon as Dylan Hunt and Diana Muldaur as a character called Marg. So Diana Muldaur is in this, and again
Marg Simpson,
just Marg, yeah, just Marg. So the concept remained the same as Genesis 2. Dylan Hunt was a scientist who was put into suspended animation in 1979 and was revived in 2133 after the final war of the 20th century by an organisation known as PAX. He still works with them going on missions using sub-shuttles, which, okay, here we go. Here's my Code of Honor mention. The plot of Planet Earth is quite similar to concepts that would appear in Code of Honor and Angel 1, i.e. a female-ran society, aka the author's barely disguised fetish. This is also on
Hold on. Was
YouTube.
that footnote yours, or is that in
That
the...
was mine.
in the summary?
That was mine. Little addendum by me there. Planet Earth is also on YouTube, available to watch. Let's go to 1975 now. So Planet Earth, commissioned as a pilot, produced to ABC, they went, no, we don't like that. We're going to retool it for a third attempt. So, in his entire career, Roddenberry has only ever got one non-Star Trek
series. Did Roddenberry, what dirt did he have on the entire production industry? I don't understand.
He was powerful in some strange way. He had a charisma that Rod Serling needed, really. Except he didn't. I don't know why I said that. Rod Serling's amazing. Anyway, so... the only series other than Star Trek that Roddenberry ever got commissioned was The Lieutenant in 1963 and only ran for a season. So in 1975...
He was saying he's peaked already.
Yeah, exactly. ABC tried to rework it, but they didn't want Roddenberry involved. So they took the concepts, tried to go for a third time, keeping the actor as the lead and retaining the name Pax for the villains using a Trek-inspired title, Strange New World. This was produced as a pilot... and is available to watch on YouTube. You can see all these failed half Andromeda pilots. But the same concept is when, your lead character, Dylan Hunt, is frozen in a space station with two other scientists. They get asteroids hit Earth. They're revived and have to rebuild the human race.
Another one of Roddenberry's fetishes, by the way.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Idol to be like, and now in 1976, another failed pilot.
No, there were three attempts to get that off the air, and I think after 1975 Stranger World, with no Roddenberry involvement, they dropped the concept. But the concept still remained, and after Roddenberry's passing in, 93, I believe, I should have fact-checked that, Major Roddenberry wanted to start some of these concepts and get them produced as series. So Captain Dylan Hunt was revived once again for Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, with Kevin Sorbo being hunted out by Major Roddenberry, and some of the elements of the original films made this way through. So there's the concept of, a lone starship captain being propelled into the future to a decimated Federation. There is a character, Harper, in this series, who was inspired by one of the actors of the original, I think it was Genesis 2, Harper Smith. One of the pilots had a race called the Tyranians.
Tyranids?
Who would inspire the... Tyranids. Wouldn't that be wild? Funnily enough, I was just playing Space Marine 2 today. They would inspire the genetic superior Tyr Anasazi and his Nietzschean race.
Worf.
Who is... Yes, the Worfs, based on Nietzsche's works. But it was a different show. So the show of Andromeda was picked up and produced by Robert Hewlett-Wolf, who's a name you might know.
Yeah. Law and Order, right?
I think he did some of that, but he was a producer on DS9 for some of the logo and stuff. He did the Dresden Files, the 4400.
I think of Dick Wolf, sorry.
Different one. This was premiered on October the 2nd, 2000, ended on in 2005.
2000 seems way too late from what I remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember
it was. Yeah, it was quite. This was kind of the tail end of the science fiction wave, because I think like the late 90s there were so many shows coming out. Stargate started. There was Alien Nations, Cleopatra 2525, Lex, loads of these ones that
all these classics,
all these great golden era. Farscape as well as a classic one. That was.
I was going to say, Idle. It's not too late for us to pivot and do Farscape. Farscape fucks.
No, that's too good. We have to suffer. It's fun when you can riff on it. So Robert Hewlett-Wolf was fired after season 2. According to him, Kevin Sorbo thought the scripts were too complicated and philosophical. The production company wanted the show to be more action-filled, less thoughtful, and have more sex. Wolf objected to the changes and got fired.
They're the same everywhere, aren't they? It's always less thought, more sex, more violence.
Spaceman, gun, other spaceman. So to give some context to people who are probably Trek fans, if you're watching this channel, this would have started, or I think season 6 of Star Trek Voyager. So you have an idea for what the contemporary sci-fi of the time would be like. And whatever else we're going to say about him, actually Sorbo was probably a great pick for this kind of run and gun fantasy sci-fi thing, because he was a big deal coming off the heels of Hercules, and Xena was huge on TV too in the States. And so you probably couldn't get a better square jawed laser slinging captain than Kevin Sorbo for this.
Give him his trash. He can work that character angle pretty well. But then,
that's for us to decide after we watch.
That's very true, actually. Yeah, we'll get to that. We can feel this is the one character you can feel free to throw as much, rake him through the dirt as much as you like. This is going to be interesting for that.
If you thought we were holding back for Shatner, we were, because we kind of love the guy, but now we won't.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to.
I have to admit, it's nice knowing that all those pilots are up on YouTube, because it's nice to know that just not my failures are up on that site,
Harbinger.
So you're saying this was iterated on so many times with previous pilots that this is going to come out squeaky clean, perfect, right?
Apex. After 30 years, this is like the pure Gene. To be fair, this is probably pure Gene, how we get through it. Do you guys want to watch... Well, I'm not really giving you a choice. We're going to watch 3 trailers. Don't know why I'm asking.
the end call button's right there. I can't just leave. I'm only here for auto, really.
So very
I told him WNBA is on right now. I want to watch some Lady Soups. Instead, I'm stuck here with Kevin Sorbo and you two, so it's whatever.
I could be getting sleep, but hey, we're all suffering. I need to repair my wall. Anyway, right. Let's watch these trailers. These are the first 3. They're not long. Give you kind of an idea of what we're going for here. Brace yourself.
All right, I'm braced. Idle, are you bricking it right now?
Oh.
Dude, look at that CGI though.
Oh God.
He is coming.
Whether you want him to or not. Okay, that's the first one.
Okay.
Get ready.
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 Let's kick some ass.
The series premiere of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda is just days away.
I'll take it from here.
Be there.
Brace for impact.
This universe starts with a bang. From the creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda.
Yeah.
Starring Kevin Sorbo.
He's like some kind of Greek god or something.
Oh my
That was in his
Lampshade.
contract. He had to have that in there.
Oh,
One more.
On the series premiere of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, an empire will fall.
Get us out of here!
A hero will rise. And one ship, a captain, and his crew will unite in the fight for freedom.
Now!
Don't miss the series premiere, Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda.
Oh yeah.
they're really proud of that shot of the
Oh,
ship
yeah.
coming up and then like the starburst.
Oh, yeah.
They've shown it like every single trailer multiple times.
It's a good one. So, bearing this in mind, gentlemen, would you please like to give me some pre-ratings of how you expect
Oh god.
this inaugural season to go? Imagine you're like me. How was I in 2000? I was 16 years
Let's
old.
not.
I've been watching Star Trek. I'm loving this new CG age where we can just do... I'm watching spacebattles.com and I'm watching the ships from Babylon 5 blowing up the Borg cubes. It's really cool. And you see this trailer come and you're like, wow, yeah, this looks good. With that in mind, what are you pre-rating this at?
So
Well,
for
first of
context, there you go.
There's a woeful lack of Lexa Doig. Like, if you're doing
That's true,
promotional
actually.
material, why would you not have her like front and center? A couple things I noticed. That ship design, I don't remember. That's actually kind of slick. Like, I like that.
It's almost
I'm not sure how
yeah.
functional it is, but it looks kind of cool after all the like compact Star Trek ships we're used to.
Hmm.
The CGI did not look up to the task. Like, we've had a lot of great Season 7 DS9 battles, a lot of good Voyager stuff at this point, and I think they can do better. This looked like an Interplay video game trailer, like from the beginning.
It
of
didn't
when you
look-
just load up the CD.
It didn't look a
so-
million miles away from what we were seeing in Harbinger on the Sea Idol. That was only
That's
3
true,
years
yeah.
before.
It was the era where they do recycle a lot of CG shots. Like if they go to action and they have to spool up their weapons, you'll see the same shots. So there's a lot of recycling. So they had to make their money's worth.
I have a question. You guys remember, or should remember this. In Timeless, you know when when Voyagers goes belly
yeah.
down on the
Yeah.
ship? Is that CG or is that model?
No, that's
That's
CG.
CG. I'm
Yeah,
almost completely
Right.
sure.
it looks good as
Yeah,
well.
because I'm thinking of how good that looked on the TV budget, and I'm not expecting, I'm pretty sure that won an Emmy or something like that sequence or some kind of award. And I'm not expecting that for every episode, but this does look cheap.
Yeah.
I'm looking especially at I'm guessing what is the bridge design, and it really does make. I literally am comparing it directly to Voyager, and Voyager's bridge is just such a better design. It looks so much less like a set. Even though I know it's a set, I've literally seen in behind-the-scene footage where they have the cameras, but you can't undersell the design work of people like Louis Zimmerman and the Okudas in terms of making it look like a real place and not a set
Did you
on a
say
TV
Louis
show.
Zimmerman?
Which is that his actual real name?
No,
What's his
Louis
name?
Zimmerman was the guy that created the EMH.
Yeah, but he's named for a.
Oh,
production
is he?
designer on
Oh,
Star
actually,
Trek.
no, he's named after a real person. Sorry.
That's Dr. Louis Zimmerman.
Oh,
to
sorry.
you.
Yeah, let me just double check that. I'm very sure his name is.
It's Hans Zimmerman.
You guys are avoiding my question. by
That's
the way.
what it is. Sorry.
You're doing everything
Yeah.
but answering the question.
Because I'm trying to set my expectations here and
Okay,
talking
okay,
myself into.
Idol can add
range.
40 minutes of context from the 70s, but we're not allowed to set the stage. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Okay, yeah. So I'm trying to think about it. It's it looks cheap, it looks silly, and not in a fun way. It just looks kind of laughable. And for 2000, you said
Yep.
this came out.
Yeah.
It looks like 1995, and not in necessarily a complimentary way.
I don't know if you've seen any of the CG from Babylon 5 from back in the day. That does look a
No.
lot more dated than this, but they did it a lot. They did a lot more with it.
If you ever do a Babylon 5 thing, I'll get Brody on because he
Yeah,
used to watch
yeah.
that a ton. So,
Yeah, they'll definitely approach that one. Will
Um,
be a longer form one because there's a lot to say about Babylon
Yeah.
5. But
Yeah. I don't know. Pre-rating, I'm gonna be pessimistic, but I will assume that there is enough in here of worth that you decide to drag us through it. So,
I really hope so too.
pre-rating it as 6 out of 10.
Ooh, okay. It's higher than I thought you'd go. How about you, Otto?
One nice thing I will say is the characters they introduced kind of seem like they are very solid archetypes. Like they know what they want these characters to be and do. And even if they are ripoffs of existing characters, it's like that's not a bad thing if they're characters that everyone enjoyed. Like let us see them with new adventures and stuff. So you got Worf and you have what's his name from Galaxy Quest? Jason Nesmith. Like he looks almost the uniforms look exactly the same too as the commander on that. So
Peter Quincy Taggart was the name of it.
Taggart, that's right. So I'm gonna go 7. I think they know what they want to start with, and I think they're gonna hit the ground running. You know, after that we'll see, but I think they have a good idea to start with.
Yeah, on that sort of note about archetypes, it's a case of like, if you think about it for long enough, Data is just a rip-off of Spock. 7 of 9 is just a rip-off of Data. Like, they're all the same general archetype, but with various attributes and sliders moved back and forth. So, as long as it's a decent variation, I don't mind a repetition of archetype, like you say.
Interestingly, slight diversion, there was another Gene Roddenberry production called the Questa tapes, which is sort of the genesis of what Data would become, and there's a lot of references in that have said, like, this is where this is where Data come from, the Questa tapes. So that's something. It's not another Gene Roddenberry.
I thought you were about to say this is where Genesis comes from. I was like, Genesis.
No.
So for the few people that may have been following along with us through the entire holodeck and watched all the Twilight Zone stuff with us, I was talking with Stars the other week, and I'm like, if Rod Serling was still with us, he would be doing like voiceover stuff in the aughts. He would probably be debuting new series like instead of Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, we might have gotten Rod Serling's Andromeda. So for all the mud we sling at Gene, like it is cool that he's had all these ideas through the years and his name attached to stuff. There's basically still shaping television that's being produced today. So
it was all that kind of post-war, people that came out of the military and had these great ideas and became TV producers. Seems to have spun off like quite a good sell.
So Idle, give us your rating. Pre-rating.
I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to go for a 6.5. I think there's. I can't decide whether I've not watched this since it debuted, so I can't remember where I'm at with this. But I think I'm around about 6.5. So, shall we, gentlemen, stop bantering and see what this series is all about? And this may be the only episode.
Well, we're going to continue bantering.
No. Talking forever and ever in one incredibly unbroken sentence.
Holodeck Plus subscribers will be able to watch our reactions as we watch along with the episode.
On that note, let's watch the episode. Okay, we're back from watching the episode now. Just to remind you guys, your pre-rating also was a 7, Stars was a 6, and I was a 6.5. Just to remind you where you stood before you watched this episode.
Optimism, Captain.
Optimism, Captain. Okay. How do we feel? Because this was an episode essentially of 2 halves. There's the first half, the setting up of the, what happened, how the Andromeda Ascendant went into the black hole, and the second half was introducing yourselves to the crew. I kind of felt like I much preferred the second half to the first, but where do you want to start with this? Actually, I know where we'll start. This was directed by Alan Croker, very famous for doing some pivotal episodes of Star Trek, directing those, including Year of Hell, Bride of Chaotica, Endgame, including Enterprise's Shockwave, Bound, and These Are the Voyages. This one was written by Robert Hewlett-Wolf. Would you like to know where the title of the episode, is this one an Affirming Flame? No, this one is, I forget what the name of this one is now. Under the Night. So this comes from a poem by W.H. Auden from 1939, which appears the lines, "Defenceless under the night, our world in stupor lies, yet dotted everywhere ironic points of light flash out wherever the just exchange their messages. May I, composed like them, of Eros and of Dost, beleaguered by the same negation and despair, show an affirming flame." Would you like to know where the quote comes from at the beginning? If the Commonwealth's High Guard had a weakness, it was this: its officers were too competent, too caring, and too brave. It's actually
I died laughing at that.
It's completely fictional.
So cheesy.
By Yin Man Wei.
The idea that a quote that like bald-faced would endure for any length of time is just insane.
Where do you want to start?
This feels like the kind of show that you turn on a low budget show and they're watching it on their TV.
This is the show in a show, is it? They made it real.
This is. We need to film like 5 minutes of B-roll so we have it playing in the background, and just like because we can't afford the royalties for anything good. I don't even know where to begin, man. Like this.
Okay. I will say I didn't hate it. Like, we're gonna laugh at it a lot. We're gonna tease it. I did not hate it. There are certain like tropes, certain things they did where I was like, this is such a garbage choice. Like, come on, don't do that. You should know better, even in 2000. But there's a lot of hints of like a few intriguing story points, or like, okay, I would like to know how that happened. And I think, what was that one line? Oh, where Trance goes, "You said he bought a farm," and I actually genuinely laughed at that.
Yeah, like, that's a good line. Yeah. Yeah, like that was like the one line that genuinely made me laugh and smile, because like that's a good use of the standard alien doesn't understand idioms, and like that's the one good instance of it. The rest of it was a little bit.
Yeah, you can have tropes if they're done well. Like that's the difference.
Yeah.
Like that was a good version of that trope, but yeah, there were a lot of other ones in this that weren't so great.
Yeah, because it's like let's just run through the crew, because like we've got Captain Dylan Hunt, who has a name that is simultaneously too heroic and too generic. I don't know why Gene insisted on sticking with that name for as long as he did through as many of his pilot. And he's just kind of generic hero man. Because the thing about Pike and the thing about Kirk is that they are characterized in a very specific way, and some of that is obviously down to the actor. But there is a case of just as written, they're more compelling characters because they have like obvious flaws and they have a drive and a certain charisma. And I'm sure Kevin Sorbo has a degree of charisma. He's not. I don't hate him the instant I see him, even though I probably should, knowing what he's like in real life. But there's just no je ne sais quoi. There's no charisma. He doesn't inspire me. I don't think of him, and I think of him as generic hero. I don't think of him as hero.
There isn't. I mean, when they started off the episode and they sort of basically reel out, "Here's I have a wife. You're my best man. You're going to betray me. Here's all my character things," in like literally one sentence as they're walking down the corridor, the sloped corridor, which was a choice. Yeah, I'm like Auto. I didn't hate it. I think it's definitely like there was a lot of like, we're going to throw out everything we can in this first half and all these tropes. We're just going to get everything started as quick as we can, and then hopefully spend the rest of the season with people not asking questions about this. But I definitely think like what they did tropey was cringy. But I feel
it was tired. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt. I mean, it probably. I think I remember it feeling tired then. Like I've never held Andromeda any high regard for like being anything innovative other than something like, okay, I'm going to put this on and watch it for watch some sci-fi in a sense of it. But I think it is one of those it's one of those series like they've given us this diverse group of characters. You've got the hero, who's probably the least interesting person there. You've got putting women as authority figures even in the 90s was quite a revolution, which I think Xena helped propel and Janeway helped propel in that time. It was very much a kind of like, I remember the newspapers, people saying like, Captain Janeway is a woman, on a Federation starship. It was very much
a female.
Yeah.
Female. So you know what? I want to pick up on the tropey writing for a second, because like I've not watched Buffy, right? Buffy came out in 1997, but I have watched the first episode because Brady wanted to watch it with me. And when I was watching it, I was like, this is fairly decently written, a somewhat formulaic monster of the week, supernatural type thing. But there was at least one or two moments every episode that I would go, oh, that's a really fun little subversion of a trope, or a fun little play on thing. And the rest of it was good. It was not great, it was good. So that was season 1 I was watching. And it's like, this is like that, but instead of like every little subverted trope is like good, there's also just like, it's not, the baseline is good, the baseline is mediocre. Like aggressively mediocre. It's like, and Buffy came out before this. And I know that it like took a while for like Joss Whedon's sort of like dialogue style and more peppy, naturalistic dialogue to get out there. Which, that's a criticism in itself nowadays of like, oh, so Whedon-esque in your dialogue. But at the time, it was revolutionary because it didn't sound like this. It didn't sound quite so tropey and expositionary. and it sounded like real people were talking, whereas this is not how real people talk, really.
Yeah, it's definitely got, and this kind of reminds me of the first episode of Game of Thrones, which is actually kind of like this in a way, where they kind of like, they throw out tropes and they throw out plot points and they throw out, oh, he is the king's daughter, this is the queen's daughter, and she's like very excitable, and this is the kid's son, he likes climbing walls and getting in trouble, and like it was very much like, it's going to throw all this out here and just throw and get it out of the way and see where we can get to.
I think we should try to be a little bit careful about who's borrowing from whom, because, like I said when we were watching, a lot of this stuff cannibalizes from each other, and so you have the Boris trope from GoldenEye with like the nerdy techie guy, and you have the big black military dude. Like you have Worf and Teal'c came before this, and now you have Tyr. So they're like, just on its face, you have certain tropes. But yeah, to your point, the one that didn't really kind of come across as a prepackaged trope to me would be Rev Bem. And they give him this line early where he says, "My people did some terrible things on Kingfisher. If I can do anything to alleviate the suffering that I caused, it'll be worth it." So like he comes across as this like ugly alien dude with whiskers and a gruff voice, but then you see he actually, which again, and it's in and of itself is sort of a trope, but he is like the first one to subvert. Like when you look at him, you don't really know what they're going for. So I appreciated that part.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate that, because guess what, that is my kind of character, like, that's the character set that I glom onto, is like the monster that is, like, has the soul of a beautiful human being, exactly, like, guess what, I'm wearing a certain type of t-shirt for a reason. And then the line after that where it's like, well, I suppose I'm trying to buy absolution like the rest of you. And it's like, okay, that's a character I would like to know more about. That's a character that is obviously in opposition to his culture and has a higher aspiration. That's the one character I'm like, I want to know more about. Harper, I couldn't give less of a shit.
See, Harper
is aggressively...
I was actually expecting him to be more annoying than he was, and he wasn't. He was. I kind of felt like he was... They seem to be setting up a him and Trance kind of 1-2, not like a pairing, but just like a 1-2 relationship, as like, he's the experienced field and she's like the innocent, like, I'm just a strange alien on this ship, the
comedic relief,
not so much the comedic relief, it's more like
I think it's his
device.
Energy. Yeah. It's his energy that's slightly annoying. It's less what he's actually saying.
It's also a choice to make, like, to have a character that is kind of sleazy. He's
the Tom Paris.
He had that hard night. No, he's not even Tom Paris. He's way sleazier than that. Because he has that whole line about like going up, what is it, to Sapagalia or whatever, some kind of place like that. Not Riser, but yeah, exactly. It's gross. And then you go the extra mile by making sure that he's constantly scratching himself with like that's the step too far. It's like you've already made him sleazy and disgusting, and now you have made him unhygienic as well.
I think this feels like it's a show that the plot points and the character definitions have been written in a board meeting as opposed by a writer sitting down and writing it. Because they're like, right, we need this character to have this trait. What should he do? Okay, he needs to have this appeal to certain people. Right, our captain needs to do this. Next. It feels more like rather than saying
scratch
like
himself like a sick dog.
Yeah.
They did actually use it for a plot point to demonstrate the passage of time, because like he has something that we've cured or whatever. So but of course they're going to go to that character. But speaking of sleazy and disgusting, conversation between Captain Dylan Hunt and his first officer.
Oh God. Oh no.
I hope Sarah agrees with you. I'm sure she does. As the great philosopher wrote, man is for woman a means. The end is always a child. I take it back. You're not a cynic. You're a romantic.
So,
oh my God.
Stars,
Roddenberry's big greasy fingers are all over this one.
You're the philosophy expert, Stars. Friedrich Nietzsche. Should we really base an entire race of people around Friedrich Nietzsche?
No, you're the most cynical philosopher ever. Like... Hang on, let me. The Nietzscheans, like, it's so on the nose. Like, that's not so. That's not on the nose. That is hitting me in the nose.
A pessimistic warrior race with multiple wives. It's that. Yeah.
Like, you really come up with the man, like the guy who said that which does not kill us make us stronger, and you're like, yeah, let's base a race around that. It's like, okay, that's fine to go into a sci-fi race and like go at it with that as their guiding ethos, right? Like, to a degree, that's kind of what the Klingons are. But you cloak it. You don't just put it there. Like, Nietzscheans feels like the label that you put on your generic script race, and you're like, I'll change this later, and then they never did.
Yes. Can't wait to meet the Sigmund Freudians.
Oh my god.
Who are they? The Plutonians. Oh no, wait, we had that in Star Trek, didn't we? That actually happened.
Yeah, no, why are we doing the 60s trope in 2000s?
We are coming, since we are on the holodeck, the last show we watched had about the least amount of subtext in any show ever. So, and we did love it for that in certain aspects.
I've known writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Yeah.
Garth Marenghi would approve.
You know what? As I've grown older, I've come to appreciate that there's actually a degree of truth in that. Subtext nowadays is pointless. No one understands your point unless you beat them over the head with it, and even then, sometimes they won't get it. So, like, sometimes subtext is pointless. That being said, I don't know if there's any subtext here. I don't think there's anything intelligent enough going on in Andromeda for subtext to come into the matter. It all seems... Normally, I would call it sincere, but here I would just sort of go, it's plain-faced.
Yeah.
It's just very... It hasn't put any makeup on what
I
it's
kind of wondered
saying.
that's why this was relatively popular at the time, and have some people kind of like think about it quite fondly. It's because it... Sometimes people do just want to sit down and watch something without having to think. You know, they just go, oh, it's the hero. You know, you want to sit on the telly and play with your phone. You know, it's like, right, fine, I'll put Andromeda on, you know, and I can fall asleep to this. Or
yeah,
I can just...
why should we demand better standards of our media watching consumption?
Well, okay, so the first 15 minutes of this was about as like action laden as you can get, like gratuitous slow motion and laser fights. And, you know, beating people up by hand. We had the first officer, like, dabbing on security with the spikes coming out of his arm. So it was really, like, you know, the people who sit down and that grabs them, they're like, all right, I'm getting into this show. They probably wouldn't... The Nietzsche thing would, like, go right over their head, I would assume, so... But it did feel it was very jarring to me for the first 15 minutes of that, and then to go into, like, slow exposition with a whole new set of characters... It felt like I'm watching two different shows, kind of. I didn't hate it, but I kind of disliked it because I would have liked either a smoother transition or some kind of tie between them.
They made the mistake of splitting these up as episodes. This should have been one longer pilot, in which case it would have been, you know, 3/4 to 1/4 of that, which, you know, we'll get into. But
you know what this kind of reminds me of, actually? I've been talking about Discovery a little bit, especially season 3, because it's a very similar kind of concept in a way. But what it's actually a bit more reminiscent of to me in terms of the structural issues is the season 1 pilot and then episode 3. Because what people often say is that if you want to get into Discovery season 1 a lot easier, you watch episode 3, and then you have all of Burnham's backstory revealed to you in episode 1 and 2 afterwards, because that makes for a more compelling standout, and you've already been introduced to the actual plot of the story.
There's a Star Wars watching order where you do that. You watch, like...
Episode order,
you watch episode 4 first, then 1, 2, and 3, and then go into 5.
Yeah. No, you skip one, actually. Yeah, you go from 4, 2, 3, then you go out to 5, 6.
Oh, wow, okay.
No, 4, 5, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6 is what you do, yeah.
Okay, that's weird. That's my social security number. Okay.
That's kind of a number that an idiot would have on their luggage log. That's the number I have on their luggage log.
Actually, yeah, that probably is. It's like a Star Trek fan having like 1701 on their luggage or something like that. It's like,
That's actually my phone lock screen. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's someone's garage door code for sure.
Yeah, it's always something. It's one of those things where it's a structural issue. It straight up is like you shouldn't lead with the action-packed stuff and then go into the slow stuff. I don't really feel, because it's the intention is obviously to get people hooked and then let them, you know, like to reel them in, and then they're gonna sit down and listen and listen to all the slow stuff. But what I often find is I'm like, oh, okay, this is like really like high octane, and then it slows down and it feels interminably slow as a result. And I would much rather, me personally, structurally have gone slow expositionary stuff with the salvage crew, and then go into flashback or like log entries, and then you treat the captain's return as a big like heroic moment where you don't even know he's alive. Maybe that would be a lot more interesting to me. Whereas this is just this feels like the first draft. It feels like
Yeah.
there is no effort made to make this more interesting structurally.
I feel like, and I said it when we were watching it, like this feels like a reverse Trek plot, because the Trek plot for this would be they'd find an ancient starship somewhere and there'd be a lone survivor on it, and then there'd be some moral quandary, and in the end he'd probably self-destruct a ship to save whatever, because he'd be
That's a DS9 episode, isn't it? With the other prophet
is
that
it?
comes out of the wormhole and their solar saving
yeah.
ship.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a good episode.
Yeah,
kinda.
but yeah, this feels like there was, you say like first draft, this kind of whole thing, like even the CG feels like first draft CG. Like there is time and budget constraints they probably had, and even in this time, we've TV CG isn't the best of this time. I think a lot of stuff you watch at this moment isn't as good as you remember. I know Star Trek has the advantage because they had a lot of budget behind them. And they were able to craft. I mean, you look at Enterprise compared to this. Enterprise had some ropey CG, and that was when they fully embraced it. But we watched Breaking the Ice, and that was a bit. Shuttles were defying the laws of gravity in that one.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of how Broken Bow looked, and with all the stuff with the Suliban cell ships and all the giant space station, like. Even that had a weird obsession with slow-mo as well. And the time dilation. That is a weird coincidence. I guess everyone was doing it at the time. But Star Trek looked better at the time.
I thought the Celestial CG looked fine. It was most of the ship models that looked kind of poor. So they maybe could have just done some model work instead of, because a lot of those shots are just like normal fly stuff. It wasn't like they didn't really have like exterior phaser shots or explosions. Really, it was just like a lot of ships moving, but they didn't.
Yeah, the ships weren't flipping around or going particularly fast. You're right.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said in the pre-show, like there are a lot of CG shots we're going to see multiple times, and there's definitely like a budget constraint, because this isn't, essentially, on the face of it, this isn't a Star Trek, this isn't a Star Wars, this isn't like a premium show they're selling. This is something completely new for them to take a risk and going, well, sci-fi's hot, do this, and go, okay, we're not going to give you a lot of money for it though. We've got enough for Kevin Sorbo, and we've got enough to make some sets. And there is. Do you want to know a fun fact? So, Elizabeth Ty, who played the unexpectedly hot bug on the bridge that everyone now has a praying mantis fantasy about, she played Refractions of Dawn, which is a kind of a great name. I think it is. I like off the wall names.
The most interesting character so far.
Yeah.
Apart from Rev Dan.
She insisted. Get this. She insisted on doing her own stunts. Bearing in mind she was sitting in a chair the entire time during the fight scene on the command deck, right? So she was wearing a gel pack that used to simulate the Than blood. The Than, that's what she is. The blood coming out as she got shot. Unfortunately, it was extremely hot and burned her thighs when it was detonated.
Oh.
Yeah, not great.
Painful.
Which surprised me that was actually the voice actor in this. Well, it may not have been the voice actor in the suit, but still, they kept it gender appropriate on that occasion.
That is I think like the one scene that I actually remembered from my original. I probably watched the original maybe a couple times. Like I said, I've seen some of the episodes, but that is the one scene that I do kind of remember. So I guess it was fairly effective then for a younger me.
So you know what? I keep on we talking about Star Trek. So all I see when I look at this is Farscape.
Yeah.
And I think of how much better Farscape looked and how much more interesting Farscape was. Like, I'm literally looking at shots of just, like, the character designs and the costuming and the set design. I'm like, Farscape looked better than this.
Well, Farscape was like Australia's big push. Like, they were like, we're going to do science fiction. So,
it probably had a bit of budget. Let's be real. It probably had a bigger budget. I don't know what the
I think I'm going to be less harsh on, like, things like CG, because I know that in TV budgets, especially this age, they're going to be struggling, and they're kind of, a lot of them are like, well, we're doing the best we can. We don't have a lot of resources here, so I'm more forgiving of that than I am of acting and storyline choices. I'm happy if they use a ropey bit. I mean, I've watched loads of Babylon 5. CG in that isn't great. Like, it looks so dated, but I'll forgive it because the storylines are great.
Yeah, well, I'm literally looking at the Farscape thing. I'm like, man, I remember all these characters being really cool, and like the animatronic work, and just like there are some of the same character archetypes in that. Like, the strict no nonsense, like female 99.
I was 99.
So
so it's
the year before. So
probably parallel development a little bit because
Yeah, and it's like I know that like Farscape has got, you can criticize it for being edgy or whatever, but it's like I would prefer a bit more edge compared to kind of.
Well, we're only halfway through. We're only halfway through the first kind of thing, so we might get that bit of edge. But I think, How about?
I did mention while we were watching that red and blue pleather made me think of Robbie Rotten in Lazy Town. Like it just has
was
that
a
sort
choice,
of veneer
wasn't it?
to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Shout out to my guy with the horns, Thompson.
That was good.
Thompson.
All right, what did you think of that 15-minute down the fire escape descending
God.
sequence with Sorbo, where it was
So
like
bad.
terribly
Fuck
CGI,
me.
but instead of a turbo lift, we go down like the anti-grav thing. That was hilarious. But
No, that was
tell
my
me what you
moment when I
thought
went,
of
look how cool he is! This is the show producers going, look, he's so cool, he's so nonchalant, falling down 15 decks. What am I having for dinner tonight? What shall I build Sarah, you know?
I've got to be completely real with you. If I were watching this on my own, scene played, I would literally just turn it off. I would be like, I'm out. I'm done.
I'm done.
Just like, like the idea that the show thinks that is cool and a good use of the budget. Like, guys, please don't. You're wasting so much time and money on this shot for nothing.
I think there has to be like a base level for other shows to look at and go, let's not do that. And I think that's a good example of like, there has to be something on the screen somewhere like, here's what not to do, and that's one of them.
Andromeda is what not to do in your sci-fi show.
Don't do what Gene Roddenberry
That's a
don't
bit
does.
mean.
An unrelated note, I wrote down my notes. This fight sequence, which you all know which one that is at the beginning, where they're doing the slow-mo and the phasers,
Jet Li
but
fight
like there's
scenes,
no
yeah.
projectile on the and they're kicking each other and and we get this weird cut like Sorbo's doing this wall jump and he's got two
and
feet
then
on
it
the wall.
cuts to the outside the ship. Yeah,
and I think what they're trying to show is that they're going through this time phase now, and so when they cut back, they start the slow mo. But it's like that's the worst possible time to cut is in the middle of his cool move. So it made it look like he couldn't do it in one take, and they had to like splice it in or something.
yeah.
So
All right. How about, gentlemen, our bread of the episode? What was the moment that stood out to you the most? That you would really define and say, hey, this was under the night. This stood out. It doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad, just has to be the bread of the situation.
well, let's start with you, Idol, since you've had some time to recollect on the show and the characters and such.
I kind of think it is. I'm going to steal the turbo lift. Him going down there. That was just the moment I went like, okay, this is what we're in for. This is the level of campy cheese. I have a second one, and if you don't pick it, I'm going to mention it, but I'll do that afterwards. So yeah, that's the big drop down the turbo lift, nonchalantly land and go, haha, if you hadn't caught me, I'd be dead. How about you, Otto?
Oh.
I just steal it.
No,
Okay.
I have one that I probably should go with, but instead I'll just go with why is the bug so sexy? Why is that insect got this sexy female voice? No. Listen, because all right, you have Lex
Hear me out.
as the Ascendant, right? She's hot. She gets plenty of screen time. You have Trans, who's like alt hot, but also normal hot.
Yep.
You got Becca Valentine hot. Like you've got enough hot female characters. Why does the bug also need to have a sexy female voice?
And the androids. Don't forget the boobed androids.
Yeah, why do androids need C cups? What does that have to the story? So anyway, that just caught me off guard because.
Did you ever think that when you came into
whatever.
this, when you set up tonight, you were going to say, "Why is the bug hot?"
I don't think it serves a purpose. So when the voice came out, that caught me off guard. I'm like, that was not what I was expecting to come out of that bug's mandible claw. So
Okay, Stars.
Is your predecessor. You said he retired. You said he bought a farm. And you said he bought the farm.
Yeah, that was good.
Yes. It made me laugh. It's the only time where I was like, that's a genuinely good line. Someone had a good time writing that. It brought me joy.
I would have preferred if Seamus didn't clarify, if he just gave her a look and walked away, because most people watching would get the joke, and then him explaining it kind of like takes something away from it. I thought, but it was still funny.
Yeah, it's still good.
Go
Yeah,
on.
well, have I got any other pieces of bread I'd like to share?
You gonna feed the ducks?
Well, I'll give my other bread would be the introduction of the Ascendant, because I got big. This was, I think, a year before the first Halo came out, and when you see her, this like translucent feminine AI, you think I thought of Cortana and Halo. So I do kind of like that character. Is like she's going to be kind of the first officer turned on Dylan, and the rest of the crew is dead or they left in the escape pod. So she's going to be like his right hand woman now, and help her and to retake the ship. She was giving him like camera angles and readouts and stuff. So I am interested to see where that dynamic goes and how deeply they flesh her out. Because we talked about Data, but you want to talk about a journey from AI like non-sentience to complete human? I wonder if they'll go that route or.
There is an episode further on down the line, which I don't think we'll get to, but is where she meets another sentient AI, and they have like there's a storyline involved there, which I believe is quite a good one of the good ones.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with sort of like Cortana is that like you meet Cortana literally the instant the game starts, and she's already giving you snark. She's already got
the character's more developed.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that they take the AI in that more direction, because so far I am not impressed by the actress, and they are not giving her a ton to work with either, which is like a bad combination. But maybe, guess what? We agreed to do 5 episodes. This is 1 out of 5. I am willing to let. Guess what? I like AI characters. AI characters are by their very nature interesting. So by all means, like blow me away. I'll be interested to see what they do with them. And yeah, the other like big bread would be Revdam. Just like he's the character archetype I gravitate toward the most. He's the other, because you mentioned the measles plot point of like, there is actually a point to him being a disgusting human being, and then they bring back the Magog thing, which was important with the first officer. So that's a decent bit of setup and follow through. So that's sort of my other big standout for me.
I think my other bread would be his bow staff CGI extending, and
oh my god!
Another example of look how cool he is.
What is the prop master doing that he had one job to give him like a staff and he couldn't provide that? So.
I mean, I had one of those swords, right? That it was just literally a thing like that, and you flicked it and it went. They could have had one of those, yeah.
It's like the CGI equivalent of the look. I've got my thumb trick. Like, fuck off.
Okay.
What other Stream Deck segments do we have?
Well, I was going to do 5 minutes. I feel like we'll skip the last 5 minutes on this one because it's not a complete episode. So we'll do that.
No,
I want to do it. You want to do it?
That's more. No, I mean that's more tailored.
Full rewrite.
Yeah,
that's more tailored to Twilight Zone, I think, because they always have that twist at the end. We got to come up with a new gimmick, I think, for Andromeda.
In which case, we'll twist over to a Trek segment, and we'll go over to
the best advice I can give you is to just be yourself.
You're the worst thing that ever happened to Zek. You're the worst thing that ever happened to me.
Actually, that's the second best piece of advice.
In fact, you're the worst thing that ever happened to the entire Ferengi Alliance. No. Just stop saying that.
Best
That's
and
entirely
worst.
Too long.
I like when you made that. You sent it to me and went, "Oh, please don't use this," and I'm like, haha.
Throw me under the bus.
Okay, best and worst moments. Start with you this time.
Okay.
You got to find something.
Best moments. I know there's stuff that's good in here. Best. I'm gonna go with Rev Dam again. Guess what? It's the closest it Star Trek. It's the closest that it gets to the idea that people are not inherently evil, and it's like I appreciate the whole setup with the Nietzschean dick shit going like, oh, they're evil. They killed 1 billion people and they rape by procreation, and then like the first one you actually meet in person is a relatively okay dude who works at the science station. That'd probably be my best. That's a character that if I continue to watch the show, I could see myself gravitating toward the most and being the most interested in, because I'm predictable. Worst?
Dude, you have a cornucopia of moments in this.
Yeah, that's why it's hard. Oh my god. Fuck.
Take 2.
Okay, I can take 2. Okay, cool. First one is Thompson. I feel like it's so tired. Like that entire character archetype of just the incompetent rookie who dies to prove a point. We need to get our response time up. Oh, look, we did better on our response time when we were under real duress. Thompson, no! Like, stop it. Just stop it.
Did you actually remember his name, or are you on IMDb?
No, I remembered his name because
Wow, that
I
is
remembered the guy going
That's-
yeah. Um, you know what? The other one is just gonna have to be just the set design in general for the Andromeda. It looks cheap. I don't like the look of it. It doesn't have a coherent design ideology. It just looks like a TV set for a sci-fi show. It doesn't sound like. Where does the captain even? Does he sit or does he stand? Is there a captain's chair? Like, I know that's like some of
No,
it.
he's
is
got a
being
heroic
dictated by, like,
clip.
conventions. Feels like it. It's like I know that some of my thinking here is being dictated by Star Trek, but guess what? This came out in 2000. It exists in a post Star Trek world and a post Star Wars world. There are so many good designs for a bridge or a command center that you can pull from. It doesn't even have to be one of those. It could be from, like, I don't know, freaking Aliens. Like, think of the Sulaco and all the cool interior designs of the Colonial Marine ship there. Like, it doesn't take a lot of money to have imagination, and they just didn't here. Like the most that I looked at something that took place on the Andromeda, I thought that was cool, was the laminated paper that ended up being kind of like a tablet. I was like, oh, that's a fun little trick. But the fact that that was like a thing that someone pulled out of a table, and then I look at the actual bridge where I imagine we're going to be spending most of our time, and I'm like, I don't like this set. Like, that's a bad
I don't want to be
sign.
here. This is my bad place.
For real.
Auto, do your best worst.
All right, I'll go now, but I'm taking 3 worst because there's so many. I'm going to put you in a bad spot, Idol. One is definitely that fire escape descent, just comedically bad. As far as you said, like that farm joke was the one time you genuinely laughed out loud. No, I guffawed at that. I'm like, what is going on? It was so goofy, and it was in line with like the Lazy Town children's television kind of theme that we were getting early on.
Was that round about this time?
I don't know.
After this, it was like 2005, I think.
Yeah, but the fact, like, that's how we get around the ship is just.
If you played this for comedy, I feel like it would be better.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't a lot of incidental comedy. You know what I mean? Most of the jokes are planned. Now I've already forgotten all the rest of my quibbles. I'll say that the ship CGI because they could have used models, and B, because we've had other shows around that time that did it much better. So even, I know budget was an issue, but it didn't look great. My favorite part. This is tough. I had it and then I forgot. Oh, you know what? Believe it or not, I'm gonna give it to Dylan Hunt at the end of the episode. To steal a wrestling term, I like my white meat baby faces. I don't need an edge. I don't need an anti-hero on everyone. And I know. Yeah, I know the baby face can get kind of like boring because they're always a do-gooder and whatnot. But I loved, like, at the end, he's like, "All right, I'm bringing my slice of goodness into an evil world." And he's not like totally Snow White because he says, either turn the ship over or I'm taking it by force. So there's a little bit of like badass to him, which I think I can get into. So I'm going to try to separate art from artist here and say he was kind of boring early on, but then at the end where it's like him and the Ascendant versus the universe and he steps right up to the bat. So I like that he was on the ball there.
You like your Greek gods to come and stand on the path and declare.
Yeah, the worship was a little bit like Sorbo had this written into his contract, kind of. Yeah,
massive lampshade. I'll go with my best. I mean, aside from the bought the farm joke, I like the scene where Trance sees the tree. And she kind of has this moment, steps outside a character, and for some reason, it's like cetacean ops on a starship. What the fuck? Why do you need whales? Why take up this much space for a whale? But why have they got this for a tree? And they do explain it's for oxygen. But it was a nice kind of like there is a mystery with Trance that I know the answer to, but there is a mystery with Trance's character that they kind of very lightly allude to here, and it's nice that I feel like her actress kind of does some good work in this series with her character. So
I quite like that scene. She feels like it's promised.
Yeah, I like to seeing a tree, and she steps out of that kind of like, I need to impress all these people to like, I really like this nature thing. So that was quite cool. Worst,
a bit of whimsy is appreciated.
Yeah, worst. Of all the things we've mentioned, I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. But I do have another worst. I
Okay,
thought of
well,
my
let
other
me do mine. I think it's just the breakneck speed of like the first half was just like trope, action sequence, character exposition, trope, sexy bug, go. Now we're stopped in time. You know, it's just like, let's just get this all. No, that walk scene with Dylan and Rade where they're just like, I'm getting married to my wife now. What do you think about women? I think they're trash. Okay, wonderful. Let's go. Yeah, that's my worst. I'll go put the first 15 minutes of the thing as the worst. Go on, what's your other one?
Do you remember? Forget his name now. The commander that comes on in the TNG episode Conundrum. They all forget who they are, and then they plant
Kieran
McDuff. McDuff. That's what Rade reminded me of. Is McDuff?
Yeah.
He's such a bad. I don't know how much of that is he acting. I suspect a decent amount. It's not good. He's reading bad guy lines. He's trying to be smooth as his. He does, like I said, the dab on the security guys, and then the little spikes that come out, which seem just like, how do we make him not a human? That whole character was just terrible to me. And then the whole fight sequence was cheesy and over the top. And I don't think a single thing. And then that line about, what do you say? Like, women are for breeding or whatever dumb shit Roddenberry wrote. I don't think there was a single thing about Rade that I enjoyed in this episode. So I don't know if he comes back or not. I hope not. But if it's like Saris at the end, where, oh God. Well, then I'll have more to say on him later. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan.
Okay, let's do. Oh, hang on, wrong button.
I can show you my rating code.
Schiller rating 3.5. Associational rating norm -3.
That's much too low a rating.
He's not accustomed to seeing an unsatisfactory rating on a member of my crew.
Oh, Picard, prepare to be overwhelmed at what we're going to say. So, rating criteria, as with our normal Treks, is usually Stars that does the honours of producing a rating. But Auto, I don't know if you have anything prepared.
All right, this is going to be on the nose.
I have two ready, but
okay.
So, then go ahead.
No, you say, and then I'll say I have two, and then we'll pick out the three.
Okay.
It'll be
go ahead.
democratically, organically sourced. Let me hear it.
Yeah, there's free range great rating criteria.
Go ahead, Stars.
All right. So I was originally going to go with how many bought farms out of 10, but then I decided no, that's too on the nose. So, gentlemen, how many sexually confused by a bug alien autos out of 10 would you like to give this episode?
That's actually the direction I was going to go. But all right, I'll jump in and say 7 was optimistic, but my general breakdown was correct. I think there are some threads there that I'd like to see pulled on. There's some characters. They know kind of what they want their characters to be. Some are stolen tropes from the recent past. Some will become tropes, maybe in part because of this show. So I'll bump it down to 5 sexually confused autos out of 10. I think it has some promise, but it also, there was some, like Stars said, there were some ejection button moments where it's like, dude, if they do that again, I'm going to tell Idle I'm sick next time he wants to watch one of these.
We'll never hear from us again.
So 5 out of 10. Yeah,
there's a 5 out of 10. Stars.
All right. I pre-rated as a 6. I think that was the lowest one. That was too generous.
Yeah.
Because 6 to me is good. I don't think I can.
You're not the video game rating thing where it has to be like an 8 to be good.
Yeah, 8.8 is terrible.
I think that's ridiculous. It's like what you're not using most of the scale.
Yeah.
The scale doesn't have point unless you actually use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, it doesn't start there.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 is my pre-rating. I'm going to go with like a 4.5. This is not wretched. There are glimmers of promise. If I was like, I was 6 years old when this came out, by the way. If this came out, for context, if I was 6 years old and there was no Star Trek or anything to watch, and this came on, and if it was available to watch, and my dad and mom would let me watch it, I would probably watch it, and I might even have some vague fond memories of it. But watching it as an adult, I would have hit out pretty quickly.
I'm probably going to echo around the same area. I'll go for a 5 as well. I think there's a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy. But like Auto said, there's nothing, threads and stuff you can pull on. I'm interested to see where they go with part 2, because I can't remember part 2 at all. I do remember part 1 more, like you say, with the bug, and I remember the trappings of the Maru finding the crew and moving on from there. But going forward, I can't remember how they integrate Tyr into the cast and things like that. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see where we go.
We didn't talk much about him, but for his role to be a pair of arms, he did it real well. He came in, they had good lighting to accentuate that he had pumped a few.
It was a
before.
good wrestling entrance, yeah.
It was actually, yeah. Oh my god, I should dub that with like the Rock's theme.
Oh god, that's Tyr's music.
I mean, we need to when we know more about his character, we need to sort of scale him on the level of alien henchmen that fill the tough guy role of the plot, like Worf, like Teal'c from Stargate, like I can't remember what Jason Momoa's character was in Atlantis, and all the others. It's definitely a trope.
If you're gonna dub it, use the Klingon battle music from the movies, da 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 da, because he's got like the backlighting and everything.
Yeah.
All they need is a smoke machine behind him.
He kind of did though, didn't he?
Okay.
There was definitely some fun. There was definitely some diffused lighting.
Yeah, because there's like a lot of other people behind him, and he's the one who steps out. Like, oh yeah, I've got my legally distinct pulse rifle.
They're coming out of the goddamn walls. Okay, that brings this episode to a 4.8. So this is slightly less than average.
Right.
Okay, we are gonna. Hopefully, I need to convince these guys to come watch this one again, just so we can at least wrap up the first 2 episodes. But we'll be back with another review next week. Please come and check that out. See you next time. Oh no, was it? I usually do a thing at the end of the Twilight ones, like stay something, but I don't think I can do anything here. I need like a whimsical quote by someone that doesn't exist.
Stay hunt.
Stay hunt, everyone.
By the way, would their shipping name be Bug Hunt? Is that?
Yes, it would. Oh my god, yeah. There was actually more sexual tension between those two than anyone else. Anyway, we'll see you later. Bye.